Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Oceania Triathlon Sprint Championships. It is race 2 coming to you live from Devonport. It is Andrew Hopwood, and I'm joined by Craig Redmond, and they were that keen, Craig, they got away early.
They did. They were on time, so nothing worse than having a late start, so they decided to go a few minutes early, but great field. We've got a really strong contingent of elite and under 23 women in this race, and I think there's well over 40, nearly 50 competitors, all vying for very, very important Oceania ranking points, and also the title of Oceania Sprint Champion. And we expect to see the likes of the Kiwi Nicole van der Kay as a race favourite. She won just recently in New Zealand, in Taupo. Expected to West Australian girls, Kira and Jazz Hedgeland, and Sophie Lynn, also a Commonwealth Games representative for Australia. And keep an eye out in the swim, especially Emma Jeffcoat, very, very strong swimmer, Tokyo Olympian, and we expect her to lead the swim out as a very strong surf lifesaving background.
Very much so. I think young Brie Roderick as well, in the under 23, came in second in New Zealand as well. You mentioned Emma Jeffcoat, 3-time winner here. So it is a very, very impressive lineup we have at Devonport, and the sun is coming out now. And of course, if you're not used to those Tasmanian conditions, it gets pretty hot pretty quickly. Only needs to be about 17 or 18 and you are going to get burned. It's about 20 odd here now. The condition of the water, I think earlier today, Craig, was about 17. Very, very good conditions in the water, and they are going at a nice clip, aren't they, towards that first buoy. It's a 750 metres, of course, and this first stretch is the longest one, so it goes out towards the rocks. That's a 300 odd metres to the first turn, then it goes 250, which is basically parallel with the beach before it turns back in to 200 odd metres. Earlier this morning, of course, you just jumped off the concrete concourse here and you're straight in the water, whereas this particular race, it's a little bit further out with the changing of the tide.
Yeah, a lot longer wade for the girls, and certainly for the elite men to come a little bit later on. But so you certainly need to have a bit of a surf life-saving background and have those wading skills and getting your knees nice and high and trying to gain that little bit of advantage early on in the swim and seed yourself out.
I was interested too, we're just looking at some of the form in the Abu Dhabi race just recently. A couple of Australians went across there, Jazz and Kira Hedgeland. Jazz came in at 19th and Kira in 51st. Had pretty good solid performances in and around down there, but they'll be looking to go a little bit harder, as we can see now. That compared to even earlier in the day, Craig, it's just that waves getting up, isn't it?
It is certainly getting a little bit lumpy,
just
and
throwing them around a bit.
And of course, this beach is protected by the bluff headland,
yes.
And as the tide goes out, of course, the swim course has to move further out to sea. So now it's a little bit more exposed at the buoys, at the turning cans. So as they get out past the protection of the bluff headland, it gets a lot choppier. And of course, the wind predominantly from the northwest here, but it's actually starting to swing around to a northeasterly, which tends to bring a little bit more of a swell as well. So we expect that to be even a little bit bigger swell by the time the men race in a couple of hours' time.
Yeah, we get a sense. We've got some great footage there from out on the boat. You can see it sort of rolling around slightly. The field is starting to spread out just a little bit further here. So the times that one would expect here, Craig, in the women in the swim, I'm thinking around that 10-minute mark.
Yeah, some of the good swimmers will be dipping into the 8 or 9s,
yeah.
but certainly 10 minutes is a pretty good swim here. Certainly a wetsuit swim, that certainly aids the swim, but this is pretty lumpy, so a little bit of stop-start around that can. Certainly Emma Jeffcoat certainly capable of a very, very fast swim, and they are starting to string out a little bit, which will be really significant in this race, because there are a couple of athletes in this race that are more than capable of clearing out after the swim-bike combination and going forward. So keep an eye for that. And our first swimmers are around that final turning buoy, so they're now making their way back to shore.
See the pace picking up there, can't you? Craig, when they turned around, it was all but there was a bit of a slipstream, and then whoosh, away they go when you actually catch that wave. So
yeah,
they are going hard.
Bit of congestion around the can there. You don't want to be caught on that inside rope. You tend to cop a bit of a beating around the head, plus you get caught on the rope, and you've got to be very careful too there. You don't sneak under the wrong side of the buoy, and you have to turn around and come back to make sure you complete the course as prescribed in the rules. But it's certainly a washing machine right there, so that's not really where you want to be at this stage of the race.
So as someone who resides in this part of the world, Craig, maybe for the people that are watching on board, tell us a little bit about the area that the race is.
Well, being a very parochial, very biased northwest coast Tasmanian, love the place. Fantastic place for open water swimming, for cycling, for mountain biking, also our food and wine and stuff like that. But certainly the lifestyle here is very relaxed. Devonport in itself, the race has been going now since 1985, so the small Devonport community really know triathlon, and they've known it for a long time. And this race has had some of the biggest names in the sport have won this event before. You know, athletes going back to the Brad Bevans and Stephen Fosters of the day, and moving forward to the McKeely Jones of the world, and moving recently the Craig Waltons and Emma Snowsills and those sort of athletes, and now just recently your Jake Birtwhistles
We'd like to talk about the history of that. It is fantastic history in this race. There is no doubt about that, of course. Started in 1985, but your very, very good self was there, and dare say that the silver-haired gentleman next to you had a crack back in the day. I didn't see much of you. You were up and gone. I was still in the water when you were probably crossing the line to take the tape. But I was out there having a crack, and these ladies here, have a look at them go, and they're picking up their rating, and you can see here just the bilateral breathing, having a look on both sides, and also when they bring that up, just a little bit behind, trying to jockey for position, who's in and around them. You'd probably know, they'd get a sense the way they race continually, Craig, on who is in and around the area of where they're swimming, aren't they?
Yeah, look, you can see they're hitting a little bit of dead water as they fall off the back of that wave.
Yeah, just saw that.
Working really hard, trying to keep their momentum and staying nice and high in the water and really catching that water strong. So they'll be rating really high. They're now coming into a little wave area. It's not much of a wave, but someone that's got a really good skill could gain a little. Well, here's a wave as we speak, and we're just trying to see if anyone can get on to that. They are working really hard. You get that little lift of momentum from the wave, and then you go into that low, and you've got to work that much harder and bring your legs in.
And here we go. Someone is on terra firma.
And a long run up to the transition here due to the low tide. But we certainly have a little wave to make things interesting. And I visage it's Emma Jeffcoat is the first athlete out of the water. I'm just trying to pick up in that light.
Yeah, it's challenging, isn't it? It's, as we see her coming up, you can see that...
It's definitely Emma Jeffcoat.
Yeah, it is Emma, isn't it? Yep. You can see she's really pushing up hard over the sand, coming through the Tasmanian arch and ripping that off, and we can see her running, going directly past her. Bodgy, she looks strong, Craig, doesn't she?
But I tell you what, the Kiwi girl, Nicole van der Kay, is right on her hammer. Great swim from her, and another Kiwi girl as well, Messer, in third. So Hedgeland, van der Kay and Messer, the first three out of the water. Michaela Messer it is. And here comes the Sosinski. Some of our under-23 athletes. Derbyshire, Charlotte Derbyshire is there as well. Now this is a significant break here. This race could certainly open up very quickly. I can see Jazz and Hedgeland coming out there as well.
Because the thing is, once they do get on the bike, incrementally it even gets larger, doesn't it? Because once those pedals go down and someone's still coming out of the water, away they go.
You certainly need to be on that wheel, because they're going from the slowest leg to the fastest leg. So transition is so vital. Jazz Hedgeland is coming through transition now, so she's a little bit further back than she'd want to be. Not to panic just yet, but she probably needs to be a little bit further up. They run the Field, run under that massive Tasmanian arch.
And that's where you've got to stick to your own game plan in some ways. Don't let all the emotion take over and you get out of your stride and rush. And if you do get out of your rhythm, sometimes the heart rate can get up a bit quicker and it can take a little bit out of you when it comes back towards the back end of the race. So as the ladies are now pushing their bikes out onto the track, and it's certainly a lot faster now than what it was this morning again, because it's nice and bright and clear, no rain on the track, so I would suspect they'll be going very, very hard indeed.
Yeah, so they head out here and turn left, and they head down to the bike course just a few hundred metres and do a U-turn and then come flying back down to the far end of the course. And that's heading down to Coles Beach.
So just getting all their equipment, very cautious that nothing is left behind. There is Ray of New Zealand as she now is out on the track, and you'll see the ladies come past at a quick clip, really pushing hard out onto their bikes, and away they go. I tell you what, their heads are down and they are really, really racing now.
Yeah, there's a lot of scrambling here, some trying to break away, some trying to close gaps. This part of the bike can really make or break your race here. If pack forms up the road, you really want to be in that group. And there's some incredibly strong cyclists in this group, so you really want to be trying to make sure that you can get onto that wheel. The wind's obviously starting to get up, so they'll have a little bit of a tailwind as they head down to the far end of the bike course. But on the way back, they'll have a bit of a tailwind, and which will help them to fly back down. Four laps.
Yep, so 4 laps, and you've been out in the course from your very experienced eye. It's reasonably technical with some couple of tight turns.
There's some technical, and the one thing in this course is the infamous North Street Hill.
Yep.
That is a tough climb. It's you don't get much of a run up at it, and you've got to work incredibly hard on that hill. So that will certainly decide some of the who's the stronger riders in this group, and can certainly break the pack up. They also come flying down the other side very quickly as well.
Yeah, very much so. So just waiting for our computers just to upgrade us so we can actually see what's going on in relation to the positions at the moment. But it's a very, very fast race, as the ladies did come out there and out onto the track. So of course, here we go now. So that's fantastic, some great shots there.
So this is the infamous North Street Hill as the girls begin their climb, and that looks like it's Emma Jeffcoat and Nicole Vanderkay, which who you would suggest that was going to be in the breakaway group. And I tell you what, these two girls are world class, and they're going to struggle to get caught. They've got to just seeing the start of that climb. It is steep, and they've got to work incredibly hard 4 times up the North Street Hill.
It's a great shot there, isn't it?
These girls will be certainly on the rivet trying to get away. And as you can see, they climb out of the saddle on the steep part of the climb.
Yeah, you can see some of them, they're staying seated, but really let's get out and get up that thing. And it's actually sometimes interesting to see what gear they go in. There's quite a variety there, isn't it? Again, would you... From your experience, look at the top of that hill there, Craig. That is making those athletes work, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure who designed this course, but they certainly like to see the athletes in pain, and they are working really hard. But they do get rewarded. They work hard over the top. The U-turn is just over the top, so they'll be come flying back down very shortly.
So again, for this course, Craig, if you are a cyclist, do you like you'd like these little challenges, surely?
Strong cyclists love this course because they have an ability to test the athletes, and here they come.
Already
so
back again, yeah.
This is where you can open the gap, because they're still climbing and you're hammering down the hill. And it is fast.
I was going to say that sometimes tests the mettle. It's all right to get up one side, and there's such a skill set individually in the climb and or descent.
Yep.
And you might even see some athletes are more adept to one or the other.
Really technical here, left-hander, and then straight into the U-turn and straight back out. A lot of power spikes. It's a big climb and then power spikes.
Look at this, coming on the inside and orbit right up on the wheel, and New Zealand now through Nicole van der Kai has got her nose in front. She doesn't want to be trailing.
No, she's trying to get away. She's a very talented athlete, very experienced athlete, and her and Emma Jeffcoat are going to be very tough to catch. So we're just trying to pick up who those next lot of athletes are.
Gee, that manoeuvre up on the inside was shades of Formula One with Mercedes and Ferrari coming around the S-Benz, and Lewis Hamilton come on the inside just like Nicole van der Kai. That was fantastic manoeuvre there. It took a little bit of courage to come up on the inside with that tight turn, but that's the technicalities of this course. Is again, they're coming around and really pushing hard. You see, as soon as they come out of the turn, they really push down hard on their legs and make them work, because they know they want to get forward momentum to come around the corners, and then of course to get up that hill again as fast as they can. And if they can get up there, when they're coming down, that lead will increase with their opposition trailing behind.
So you've got to make sure you've done your course reconnaissance. You know what gear you're going to climb the hill in. You know what gear you're going to hit the corner and the U-turn. All has to be in your planning so that you're not working so much harder than you need to have. A lot of power spikes, as we know, and these athletes are trying to get back on.
It's interesting with this particular race. When I say this particular race, the sprint series, it's over so quickly. There is absolutely no room for error. I mean, if you're in your Ironman or whatever, you sort of think, oh well, I'll come back shortly, but this one, it's almost like in parlours from test match back down to 50 overs. This is the 2020, if you like, of the triathlon series, isn't it?
It's certainly, it's sharp racing. As I said, you'll come screaming down the hill in your big gear, but suddenly you're into a left-hand turn and a U-turn, and you have to gear down quickly or you'll get caught out.
There's a lot happening around you. You not only have the course to contend with, there's always someone beside you, so you've got to certainly have your wits about you, and it is good racing at the moment. There's Irvine Ray from New Zealand coming down there, but out in front it was Nicole van der Kai doing very, very nicely. Very great race. There was Mitchell from Australia. Of course, it is in the elite women and the under 23 women, all in this one race, and it is going at a very nice pace.
So they're just coming past to complete their first lap of the entrance to transition is just there. So they've completing 5 kilometres, and you can see that chase group of 3 trying to get on terms with Emma Jeffcoat and Nicole van der Kai. Oh, who's this athlete?
Mitchell.
So Mitchell from Australia is unfortunately, looks like she's out. Kelsey Mitchell.
Let's hope she's okay there. Not sure if it's anything wrong with the bike or not, but anyway, we'll get some word on that. If you are watching in a relation, we'll try and get some information, but now it is back to racing. You can see head down. Wind is picking up. It will affect the races, there's no doubt about that. There's a few undulations out there too. They have to contend with, Craig, up and down and over the railway, but again, you've got to do your reconnaissance so you know what lay ahead of you in relation to the course that you're at.
The chase group coming through there. We've also got the Austrian athlete there, Therese Versinger from Austria in that group. But certainly, if you miss that front pack in that first helter-skelter 5 kilometres, it's going to be very, very hard to get back. once they get back onto that course proper.
Yeah, very much so. It's the one difference, isn't it, now, Craig, in relation to the way the courses are planned, where you can just see your competitors quite regularly on the turns, where, of course, you know, back in the day it was just out and back somewhere, and or a big loop, you would have no idea. Now it's much different for many reasons, for the competitors, for the people watching, because they're going around and around, and also you just got a sense of where all the competitors are at all times.
It was Sophie Spencer from Australia going through. She probably caught in no man's land at the moment. She's got a group in front and a group behind. You really can't afford to be waiting for that group behind, but if you can't get onto that group, then it's decision time. Do I wait and hopefully we can work up together, or do you keep chasing?
That's where it's interesting, isn't it? Where all but it's races within races, and you've got to start that communication with each other to join on and push together, to join forces, I guess, as a collegial effort to get up to that next group. Otherwise, your race is done. So now you can see those young ladies pushing hard, trying indeed to make sure they do get up to that next group, and there they go up the hill. So excuse me.
Yeah, so the chase group, 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got 5 in that chase group, hunting down, and it looks like
they look they're getting closer, aren't they?
Yeah, but
it's a bit deceptive. It is deceptive
from that, but they now get into the steepest part of the hill. But I suspect this group will come together. Mind you, Emma Jeffcoat, she doesn't mind riding solo for an entire race. She's won here in Devonport doing exactly that thing, up this hill 4 times and not having to wait for anyone. She just went for it.
It's such an interesting race within the race when you have a climb like that and you look across at everyone else and you know you're hurting, but you just have to try and play poker, don't you?
Absolutely nowhere to hide on this climb. You have to do it yourself.
Yep.
and you can see these girls are trying. You've got to try and get up, because the reality is the other ones are coming screaming back down the other side once you're over the top. You will really notice the strong riders will try and accelerate over the top of the crest and try and gain that advantage at the top of the hill.
And then, Craig, it's a reasonably tight turn to then head straight back. Yep.
So you've got to try and put the power down, get around the turn, put the power down again. You get a little bit of a reprieve down the hill, as we mentioned, but then you're straight into that technical bit as well.
So it was when Nicole had that terrific inside running and overtook Emma Jeffcoat on this down. Here they come again. So they're coming down at great pace, and there's the Australian who's just in front. But look, it looks like Nicole's got that inside again, and she's gone past her on the down.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure these girls have pulled back a little bit of ground. It's only 5 or 10 second gap now. So great riding there. It may be Sophie Lynn, the Commonwealth Games representative, that's chasing that chase pack.
So around they go. 1 and 2, and let's just see if we can't grab that. Look at the pace as they do come down. Just always makes me a little bit nervous there, Craig. I like to keep your eye on the track, please. Don't look ahead, don't look over. Concentrate on what you're doing.
So not so sure I'd be wanting them on my brake hoods coming down a hill at that speed, but there we go.
Brings back some memories for me. I mean, I know it's not all about me, but I was in the Sandy Bay Triathlon many years ago, and he went up past the shot tower and down through Margate, for those who know it, and someone came off their bike and all they had to protect themselves with their budgie smugglers. And when I went past this poor fellow, most of his body was back on the road, and ever since then, my brakes started to come on a little bit more, Craig, I have to say. So I'm very wary on those down hills as an old veteran now.
They're very brave, these cyclists. They hitting massive speeds down this hill.
So we can see going up and down they come.
And of course the other variable is the wind starting to get up, so they are getting a little bit of buffeting as they come down as well with the northeasterly. So that just makes it a little bit more technical.
You can see trying to get as aerodynamic as they possibly can, just tuck themselves in, get in behind, and down they go even.
So 32, that's Zoe Clark from Australia. So as we mentioned before, there's a combined race, so there's your elites and your under 23, so there's athletes racing for 2 championship titles up to grabs today. There's the elite and the under 23 title.
And we were saying before, so if it just happens that, and that was also Isla Watson just going through there, you can be under 23 and still take out the title if that just happens to be the case of your age bracket. So it's very fast racing in the elite women and under 23 women here in the Oceania Sprint Series in Devonport. Very sunny Devonport, by the way, now, as it's come out to be a cracker of a day. That might be Penn as well going through. And
here we go. So it looks like it's come together.
It has indeed. This is very exciting.
Yeah, so 7 athletes, it's all come together. So 2 laps down, 2 laps to go. So 10k of the bike done. They've got to go up the North Street Hill 2 more times. So Emma Jeffcoat's certainly there. We'll try and get a look on who else is in that group. I think that might be Ellie Hoytink,
yes,
as well in that group.
I always feel, don't know about you, Craig, it's the first part of any section of the race is almost like the preamble. The real race is in the second part. You're almost just jockeying to get yourself to stay in the race itself. It's almost like the second part, righto, let's start going. People start to make their moves. This is I guess like even in football parlors, the third quarter, and this is the next stage of this bike section. You can see now some of the ladies just looking around. Right, who's in here? Have I got you covered? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. They start to worry and jockey and think, what have I got left? And the other interesting thing is sometimes in today, we're watching this as all our very dear friends are watching out there live. How are they feeling on the day? Are they masking their feelings? Because all of a sudden they could be out and they think, I feel $1 million today. I'm going to rip it, or I've got lots in reserve, or, oh, I'm having a bad day, but I'm still here. And they just, from memory, just keep going.
No, there's certainly, the girls that are in the lead group are in the best position, but they can't afford to wait for the run now because there's certainly some strong runners chasing them from behind. They've got to ride hard. You can't ride, there's no way you can ride this hill easy. It is a tough climb, so you got to try and measure your dose of energy and try and make sure you got some really good legs for the run. It is a flat run, it is a fast run, so the pure runners do quite well here on this course, but you've got to still have the legs after 4 times up the infamous North Street Hill.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing for those who are watching and haven't partaken in a triathlon. Once you do get off the bike and you've given all you can, your mind might be saying, well, let's go, let's get this run under your belt, but all of a sudden the body's saying, the legs are saying, I don't want to do it. They become quite heavy, and it's a very difficult thing to do, and there those the 2 ladies, I think it's Watson and Clark, going up that outer side there, right on each other's tail, keeping each other honest with a couple of laps to go. Well, there's no one that's really come out as far as we can see, Craig. No major surprises so far in that lead group.
No, they've certainly done their damage though. They've certainly whittled a very big field, 50, 60 athletes down to 7 within 10 kilometres. And so the rest will be chasing, I think the run of the winner is certainly going to come out of that lead group.
It will, won't it? I would have thought it's going to be challenging for anyone else to come up from there. Especially, excuse me, when it's only the 5 kilometres. It's not like you're racing at Kona when you've got a whole marathon to sort of get back that lead. This is all of a sudden you get off and you are going very, very swiftly because it's only the 5 kilometre run. So again, coming out now, and this is a big field going up the hill together. I think that's 8 8 competitors pushing up there, all jockeying for position. This is a lot different from the first couple of times we've watched these ladies go up the hill now, Craig, because look at them, it's quite a big group.
They're starting to spread across the road. Up that hill. There's a fair few spectators and coaches at the top just enjoying watching the pain. It certainly is a tough hill. Anyone that's raced here before will know. We've just got to push over this top and get to that turnaround, and we get a bit of a reprieve down the other side. And they've opened up a pretty big gap.
That's a big gap, isn't it? Yep.
So it's Knightley there from New Zealand, certainly in that chase group of 2. So it's Madison Knightley from New Zealand. And then they've got another group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another group of 7 chasing them down. So they really are caught in no man's land right there. But of course, racing for top 10 results is really important here, and there's an under 23 title up for grabs, and there may well not be any under 23s in that league group. So there's all to race for.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's 1 lap to go, and
I'm pretty
you'll
sure
just see in a minute it'll be coming down with great pace. And how are we going there, Craig? Have we got any vision of who is in that group? Can't see on there. So to spread out slightly, they've got to be careful with the big group. And I think it might be Nicole van der Kai who has just slipped back in front. She's very, very good on the downhill. There is no doubt about that. But have a look there. As soon as they hit the bottom, it was straight back around and going again with pace. And I'll even stick my neck out, Craig, and say, well, the winner can only come from that group. There is no doubt about that.
Unless they fall asleep and wait for the run, they're not going to get caught. But stranger things have happened as triathlon. And people have run through if they have overextended on the bike. They can blow up on this course. There've been a few people that have been caught undone. They've overridden and really struggled in the back end of the run.
So again, down that hill for the second last time as they come towards that sharp turn, the one that Nicole van der Kai has made her own. Twice she's come down that hill and come up on the inside and past Emma Jeffcoat. So between those 2, Craig, the run, on form, who would you see as the stronger of the 2?
As we just see Olivia Cummings from New Zealand going around the turnaround there. On form, I think Nicole van der Kai is going to be very, very, very tough to beat. I'm not 100% sure who's in that lead group, so we're just getting a look on that. But if Sophie Lynn is in there, she's certainly more than capable. Kieran Jazz Hedgeland as well are very strong runners. If they haven't suffered too much on that climb, but yeah, look, Nicole's going to be very tough to beat here.
Yeah, she is. She's racing very, very nicely, in good form, obviously, coming off that win. And I'm not sure, I saw that other New Zealand, I'm not sure who that is. And if that was Brie Roderick, I mean, she actually was second in the last race as well. So we know her form is very, very good. So there were 2 New Zealanders for sure. It was just... Okay.
So Nicole van der Kai is certainly the race favourite in this group. She's not afraid, very strong athlete, not afraid to push the pace as well. Very experienced. Certainly would be putting a hand up for the New Zealand, not only the individual race, but actually the team's relay event in Paris. And our lead group's coming through to complete their 3rd lap. So 5K to go as they come in and take the bell.
So it is on that last one. Nicole van der Kai doing very, very nicely. Just leading them across. Be challenging.
And this is at the far end of the course. So they are starting to string out considerably.
Just saw amongst that group Charlotte Brown from New Zealand, who is competing in the There she is again in the under 23. She's going along very, very nicely, and alongside her was Laura Gillard as well from Australia. Just caught a glimpse of her as we go through. But you can see here, quite strategic now, just sort of having a glance around.
The Kiwi girls having a little bit of a chat.
Oh, they've gone out together. Have a look at them.
So they're having a little bit of a chat.
And it is Brie Roderick who's up the front there with Nicole van der Kay. They're sort of trying to work it all out here, Craig, aren't they?
Look out, 2 Kiwis and 5 Aussies. What? It's always a good night out, isn't it? So they are certainly trying to not team up, but have a little chat to each other. Certainly 2 very talented athletes. The Aussie girls, they might try a breakaway. Nicole only needs a few seconds to get that sort of clear run onto the run course, and she'll be very, very tough to catch.
Gee, we get beautiful scenes there of people starting to even enjoy the warm climbs that is on offer here in Devonport. But let's get back to racing. Again, another chasing pack coming up fast, but it is all eyes now as the lead group. They're all on their last lap, which is the 4th for these races. Pushing hard.
So we got two Kiwis, 5 Aussies in the lead group.
One thing I think triathlon also does very well now, Craig, is the distinction between all the races. Instead of throwing everyone in, it's lovely to be able to watch this race. So all of our focus is on the female competitors instead of being diluted in amongst the males. So I think it's great that we highlight the distinct races so we can concentrate on those particular areas. And the ladies are certainly coming out and putting on a good performance down here at Devonport in what is race 2 of the Oceania series. So there we're going just past what was the finishing line of the run, which will be what they're looking for very, very shortly. But of course they've got one more time to get up that hill, get back as quick as they can into the transition area, and away they will go again. Beautiful scenes, great spot where we are here to hold a triathlon in the port city of Devonport. Founded way back, I think, in about 1835, something like that. It was about 1803 when Tasmania was settled, and then on the northwest coast some years later, as away they go down that straight back in towards the city and coming back up. It's beautifully laid out city is Devonport, and it's very sports minded, isn't it? Just round where we are, Craig, we've got the tennis courts, football field, showgrounds, and all the stuff, the cricket, the whole lot, the surf club. It's very, very sporty, and people get very active in the community on all those sports, aren't they?
Yeah, this whole
all the way on the coast.
Yeah, well, this precinct, yeah, you've got junior soccer fields, you've got the Devonport Oval cricket and footy, you've got the hockey centre. That's hosted a number of underage national titles as well, so it's certainly a very, very big sporting community. But as you mentioned, the whole northwest coast is the rivalry between towns.
Oh yes,
especially in football and basketball and those sort of things. So, and triathlon the same.
Yes,
the rivalry
it is, isn't it?
It's we love beating people from the rival towns. So that's the infamous North Street Hill as we scan back down towards Coles Beach, and here they come through.
And so I'll be fascinated to see how they go when they come down. Is anyone going to really, really work even harder to come down and try and get that little break?
So this is our chase pack. So they're trying to make a dent into the lead group.
So here they go. This is where they really start to work hard. Down comes the motorcycle, and let's have a look.
Someone's trying to get a little bit of a lead off, but certainly getting their head down over the head stem of their handlebars, just trying to get a little bit more aerodynamics, but then suddenly got to pull the speed up very quickly to take this left-hand corner at speed, and then straight into that U-turn. Power back off.
Yeah, thankfully we haven't seen anyone overshoot that, which is great. So no one's really making too many statements to get away, but here they go again as they'll spin back around.
And that's our third chase group trying to get up the hill.
So we're just probably looking at these ladies. They'll be looking at sub 30, I would have thought, for the ride, and then of course they do then work very, very hard on the run, and anywhere from, what would you think, sort of the 15 plus to 18-ish, something in that area, I guess. That's quite vague, but yeah.
I'd be expecting someone of Nicole van der Kay's ability to be running in the 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So she's just depends where you are in your season and in your prep, and how much this hill's taken out of your legs, but she's certainly a very talented athlete and the most credentialed in this field, along with Emma Jeffcoat. Sophie Lynn is certainly a very talented runner. She's also good enough if she's has a running background as well. So it's still going to be a very cracking run.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's in there. Jazz Hedgeland did just over 17 minutes in Abu Dhabi, so that's pretty good form, as well as they're heading back hard around the corner, all chasing to try and get up to that pack. There's one more hill to go. As one goes up with a grimace on their face, the other has come down in angel gear right around this sweeping turn. As Craig mentioned, it's very tricky here. You're really coming hard, and you've just got to be careful you brake at the right spot and then come back on the accelerator, really push down. As you can see, that muscle definition in the body of these athletes going along very, very nicely. That might be Knightley, is it, there from New Zealand?
Yeah, Madison Knightley hanging on to the back of that group, and they're all now starting to thinking about the run leg.
And I guess the other thing is T2, you know, getting off that quickly. That could be very, very important given this race expectations in and around that between, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds, maybe 25, somewhere in there. It'd be great. 30 plus isn't so good, but you want to get it around that 30 seconds, I would have thought.
They do have a little bit of a run here. So here they are coming into dismount. You've got to make sure you step off the bike before that line. They do have a bit of a run here with the bike. They've got to come all the way down to the far end of transition near the swim exit. And we'll try and get the names of these athletes as they come down. Yeah, Sophie Lynn is leading them out.
Sophie Lynn.
Ellie Hoytink is certainly there. Let me try and get a visual on those there. Emma Jeffcoat's definitely there. Roderick's there from New Zealand. And as they come around, let's call them around. So Sophie Lynn, she is leading them on the bike, and Roderick's there. Then we've got Ella Derbyshire, Hoytink, Jeffcoat, Kiwi van der Kay, Sosinski and Hedgeland. That's Kira Hedgeland is in that group. So there's some really talented runners there. But Sophie Lynn, Nicole van der Kay, looking to go head to head with these athletes. Charlotte Derbyshire is certainly a talented runner. Very talented juniors. They put on their shoes. Who's first out? And Sophie Lynn, it looks like, is going to lead them out onto the run. Fantastic change from her.
Well, strap yourselves in, Craig, because I tell you what, this is going to be very, very interesting. And look at them, this is where, too, you don't want to drop off. You've got to really get in there, even if it costs you a few petrol tickets, just to try and get in and then settle. Then now it is when you're trying to get your rhythm.
Well, Sophie Lynn has taken off, had a great transition. She's out. The young under-23 athlete, Charlotte Derbyshire, is sitting on her shoulder, so that's really good for her. She's certainly a very talented runner. So she's covered. Here's our chase pack coming in now. We'll try and get a visual of who's in this chase pack as well.
Which is great. They're going to come down
so
past us.
Yeah, they're being led by Jazz Hedgeland. And then the Austrian athlete is there as well.
Is that Wesley?
So Jazz Hedgeland, the Austrian athlete. Lauren Kerwick from Australia was there. There's a Kiwi athlete. Maddie Knighton. Lindsay or Wesley Cummings from New Zealand, and Hal from New Zealand in that group.
So they push on up.
And here comes our next two athletes, Gillies and Thorpe.
And we have Hodgman from Australia. Just keeping a balance, is it?
Yeah, that looks like Hogan.
Oh, Hogan, I apologise.
Hogan from Australia, and Spencer from New Zealand, and Knightley from New Zealand in that next group.
All right, so...
And as they all head, that second chase group all head out onto the to the run course.
They rack up, and let's have a look to
5 kilometres, 2 laps of 2.5 kilometres. So Jazz is certainly on a mission. She missed that pack, so she's not going to be happy. So she'll be running with a lot of intent as the Austrian girl tries to sit on her shoulder. But it was Sophie Lynn and Charlotte Derbyshire, the young junior athlete, or under 23 athlete, I should say, or 1-2.
Yeah, what was that, Therese? And please forgive me, I hope that's right. We'll call her Frau Singer from Austria. She is right up in the mix, isn't she?
She is. So this will be a really interesting time now as Yarrow from Yarrow, I should say, from Australia coming through T2.
So through the transition, they're bringing and racking their bikes in readiness to slip their running flats on, and away they will go very, very swiftly over the distance.
Really important. You must make sure you rack your bike fully before you unclip your helmet, part of the race rules.
It's a quick transition,
yeah, it was a nice smooth transition there. That was a great effort.
It's extraordinary nowadays, from sitting down and lacing up your shoes to just quickly slipping these on. They've got to the elastic top, so there's no need to do any of that.
So Madison Tuvey from Australia coming through. These young girls are getting a lot of experience from these races, and they'll certainly learn a lot from it. And Cranage there also from Australia. It's Paige Cranage.
Yeah, it's good pace. Look at the cadence there on the old legs, just stepping out. Good pace, getting into a nice rhythm early.
I've got some more athletes coming into T2. Yeah, Gillard from Australia and Clark from Australia, Brown, New Zealand, and Ray from New Zealand in that group.
It is, of course, the Oceania, and here we go back out onto
right.
course.
So Nicole van der Kay, she's heading down to the far turnaround, and so she was a little bit off out of transition, but she's certainly caught them.
She's made up, hasn't she?
And she's got herself in that group with Sophie Lynn, Charlotte Derbyshire, and Kira Hedgeland there in that group. So it's 1 Kiwi, 3 Aussies, and they're working really hard.
She looks good.
She's certainly a class runner. The girls can't afford to let her sneak away here, but she's just turning the screws, running with great form, nice cadence.
Look at that.
High carriage.
She has, hasn't she? Looks nice and relaxed. You can see the hands sometimes just have the fingers spread, so you are in a nice relaxed form. Sometimes that's the challenge that you do, isn't it, Craig? When you clinch and you're using extra energy there if you're doing that sort of stuff. So just stay nice and upright, breathing, get your breathing right, and away you go. Get into that rhythm.
We certainly hope you're enjoying our coverage here. We're working really hard to bring you great vision and some timing. We are having a little bit of issue with our timing. But we'll get that rectified as quickly as we can. But in the meantime, enjoy the images that are coming to you.
Absolutely. That was Emily Irvine as well from New Zealand, who made her way up. And there's Mia Marks from Australia. She's representing in the under 23 division. You can see her making her way out onto the run. Just great to be in races. You learn so much, don't you, Craig, when you're out amongst, like in all sports, racing against better people. You think to yourself, what are they doing? What can I do? And how do I get up to that? So it's a great learning curve for all involved. As now we see Therese Förstinger from Austria, just in our picture there.
So Jazz has dropped her, and she's trying to chase down that lead group of 7. Certainly within that chase group in there, Nicole van der Kay is looking very strong. She's got another lap to go for sure. And Sophie Lynn, but young Charlotte Derbyshire, she's certainly pushing for under 23 title there. So she's an under 23 athlete in that group. So she potentially, if she can stay in that position, could take out the under-23 Oceania Championship.
She should be thrilled with that. So we can now see the race at hand, just pushing along. Always interesting in these sort of circumstances. You just keep your eye on that next body in front and try and work your way forward and pick them off if you can, if you're feeling strong.
Certainly great shots of the Mersey River there in the backdrop as they run through the parklands along Victoria Parade, along the Esplanade. That's Emily Hogan, I believe, running down to the far end of the turnaround.
It certainly is, Craig, an acquired skill, isn't it, to get off a bike when you've given it your all and then use your legs on a run. There is no doubt about that. It's just not easy for those who haven't tried it.
Nothing better of running with lead and jelly in the legs. It's nothing better.
One of the things it does teach you, though, of course, is that if you can do this, you can absolutely get through anything. So here they go. They're just sort of working their way around the course as we see here. Fantastic running form, just sprinting along. So we can see now getting towards that interesting, very much interesting part of the race. So there is Nicole van der Kay. I think she's actually increasing that lead now. Have a look at her fall.
So she's number one on my sheet in terms of a number, and she's demonstrating that at the moment.
So she's come round and
great work there.
She is on the last leg as the Australians.
It's about 40 metres, so a lot can happen.
Edgelyn Derbyshire really pushing to try and catch up. Be very lucky. Craig's now wandered around to that finishing line and he'll be able to have a bit of a chat to the competitors as they come across the line. It's crucial, you really sprint down to this last one, and when you turn around you can see what it is your lead is. And I tell you what, when you do turn around and you glance over on that left-hand side in the peripheral vision, the finishing line, it really gives you that impetus to put the accelerator down to the floor and push on. There's nothing more than when you can see that finishing line to give you that impetus to go forward. So here they come, these young ladies. They've been very stoic today and what has been absolutely fantastic conditions. A little bit of breeze has got up. Here's Gillard, Nessa from Australia. They're chasing. Great experience for them on what is, we know, a very, very fast, flat course in this elite and under-23 women's race in the Oceania Sprint Series. We hope you are enjoying it. It is race 2. Of course, Tapo in New Zealand was race 1, and here it is Devonport in race 2. The sun is out. The weather gods have been very good to us as our competitors are working their way down towards that finishing line. There is Isla Watson pushing her way along that run. Fantastic work there as we see her make her way back to the course proper around towards the Mersey Bluff of where the finishing line lay. And ultimately, that is her goal for the day, to get there as quick as is possible. We're back here toward that finishing line. Some of the runners just making their way around there. I think again that was Theresa Forsinger from Austria who rounded that turn. It'll be all eyes on Nicole van der Kay, I would have thought, at that finishing line from what we gathered a few minutes ago. she was looking very, very good. She had really, really good form. You can see once they come down here, they go back away from the finishing line, and then they make their way back down the blue matting to take the finishing ribbon here in the Oceania Sprint Series. It's been at a good pace. It'll be fascinating to get the official timing shortly, but good conditions. You can see out just to my right as well, as we've got a fantastic view from where we are. The elite men are starting to warm up, but it's all about the women. As there is, excuse me, Lindsay from New Zealand making her way around as well. Hogan from Australia, that's Emma Hogan.
There, well done. All right, so we just ticked over 56 minutes.
Madison Knightley from New Zealand. So as it said, just over that 56 minutes have gone.
Pushing along.
Expecting around that hour. So they won't be far from.
Good job. They might make it look easy, but it's tough work right on the threshold and pushing beyond that.
Have a look here. You can see the pace is really picking up now.
Thank you to our timing staff here doing a great job over the last 4 days.
Jockeying for positions. That might be Derbyshire's just, that's Charlotte Derbyshire just in front at the moment. Really working hard, side by side. This is when the mind games start coming in. When do I go? Have I got anything to hang on? Have I got one last burst in me? All of these things are going through the mind of a triathlete right now. It's not only the physicality, but the mental side of things. So they are working their way back around for their last turn, and then they will really, hopefully, put their foot on the accelerator and really rush back towards that finishing line. So that said, they've already done 750-metre swim and a 20-kilometre bike ride, and now this 5-kilometre run. I had shades of the Olympic distance there, as there is Madison Tuvey from Australia in the under 23, just going around. Ray and Clark as well from Australia. That's Zoe Clark. And that was Amara Ray from New Zealand. Again, if you are watching from New Zealand, we certainly welcome you to the coverage, and hope that you are enjoying it. It's our pleasure to welcome you to it. Just see around there, that was Isla Watson, who is one of our under 23 competitors. So getting very, very close, I would have thought, to our expectation of the first finishers across the line. There is Hedgeland of Australia, just sort of, you can see, really running nicely. You can see some of the runners just look a little bit smoother, some a bit more fatigued, the shoulders start to drop. The body language can tell it all on how you're feeling at this stage of the race. I think that just gone round there might have been, yes, that was Llewellyn from New Zealand, Ingard Llewellyn. Nicely done by her.
Looks like we might have our leader appearing and still turning over that stride rate very effectively.
So I just got a whisper that it is Nicole van der Kay who is leading the pack. We'll probably go back to her in just a few seconds. As you can see, some runners are really trying to push their way back. They know they're on the last throes of this race and they want to finish off. As we said before, and Craig and I were talking, the points are absolutely crucial in this race. So they are really, really working hard now.
Right up there, Charlotte Derby's here. Under 23, so our first under 23 across the line there. Charlotte Derby's here. Well done.
Runners working very, very hard. We'll cross over to Craig very, very shortly to see what's going on over there at the finishing line. We just heard Charlotte Derbyshire was doing very nicely for Australia in the under 23 female.
Cycling in third in the elite women. Well done, cycling. Charlotte Derbyshire, our first across the line. Well done. Great effort there from Ellie Hoisting. Fifth across the line and second in the under 23 women. Great stuff there.
So these young ladies are coming up to their last turn. They go round here and then they head for home for the last time. It's always very satisfying when you're in the throes of a triathlon to understand that when you turn and head towards the finishing line proper, that's it. You've done your day's work, so they'll be really thrilled with that if that's the case as far as they can see. As we can see now, some athletes are just really gliding over the ground. Some are a little bit more like they're going over glass. That's the fatigue in the legs that are starting to set in. But going very, very nicely towards the finishing line now, all these young ladies. As soon as they get to that finish line, it's not only the reward of knowing they're there, but of course they've got to refuel with the fruit and the drink. So something to look forward to.
There's some ice. What a run! Got me very honest. Well done. Well done. Well done. That's actually well done. Great win.
There is Michaela Messer of Australia. She's heading up for her last turn. Pushing up towards that last turn. You can see there competitors Ray, Tooby and Clark. Zoe Clark from Australia. Madison Tooby from Australia as well. As they come round, nice and upright in their stance. Charlotte Brown from New Zealand as well, pushing on towards her last turn.
Mackenzie Penman, good work, running strongly.
Nice and relaxed through the face still. Doesn't belie the real feeling that's going on in that body after what they've been doing. And there we see some of the competitors that have crossed the line. And I'm sure Craig will be there in just a few minutes to get a bit of a word with some of the competitors. They look really happy with their form. It'd be great to get that insight from Craig in just a few moments on how they thought of the race. And I think we'll go to him now.
Nicole Vanderkay, Devonport Triathlon. You've been here before. You've taken the gold medal today. Congratulations on your race. How was it?
Oh, thank you very much. It's a beautiful day here, and I'm very happy to come away with the win.
So you've had a pretty good start to the year. You've had some really good results in New Zealand, and you're looking towards the new Plymouth World Cup very short. Tell us about how the season is out and what you're looking forward to do more later in the year.
Yeah, it's been a great start. We started off in Wanaka for a little Conti Cup, and then the week later Taupo, and I was really stoked to come away with 2 wins. I wasn't expecting that. I just was doing base work and really happy that my training's just going well and I can perform consistently.
You did look really strong. You had a great swim. You were riding with Emma Jeffcoat there early on the bike and then got caught by that group. Was the plan to just sit tight and wait for the run and back your run, or were you really keen to push out on the bike a bit more?
No. I love a hard race. I don't mind working on the bike. I love that there's a hill. It really makes everyone work, so it's great. Not afraid to push and just make it a training and race day.
So obviously, everyone's mind, what's the plans with Paris and trying to qualify for that and moving forward this year and next?
Yeah, so last year I got next to no points, so that's why I've been chasing all the Conti Cups and Oceania Cup. So I'm trying to set myself up well for later in the year. The main season's obviously European summer, and targeting some of those bigger races.
Well, congratulations today. Gold medalist here in Devonport, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Kira Hedgeland, second today, silver medal at the Devonport Oceania Sprint Championships. How was your race?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was pretty good. I unfortunately didn't have the best swim, so I knew I had some work to do on the bike, but I had a new bike today, so it felt amazing. It was really good. I felt nice and strong on the bike, so that was awesome. And then the run, I felt pretty strong too. I sort of had to play some games in order to get rid of Shah there at the end. She ran really well, but yeah, I'm really happy with second today.
You were saying it was Nicole and Emma Jeffcoat had moved up the road, so did you panic there, or how did your group respond to them being up there?
Obviously, initially, you are like, damn, that is where I want to be, but I knew that I'm riding well, so I just kept calm, worked with the girls around me, and got myself up there.
You said on the run, you and Charlotte were running really hard, and Sophie as well, and then Nicole comes screaming past. So how did you feel on the run?
Felt pretty good on the run. Yeah, me and Nicole were a little bit further back out of transition, so we made our way up to the other 2 girls, and then Nicole sort of got away then. I was sort of running with Shah for a while, did a couple of attacks, couldn't quite shake her, and then went for one final one, and finally got myself into second. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously eyes are on things like Paris in another 2 years' time. So what are your plans moving forward?
So moving forward, I'm just going to try to do a mix of World Cups and World Series this year, all about gaining experience for me, gaining confidence, and putting my best foot forward in order to get picked for that team.
Congratulations today and good luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you so much.
There we are, second place getter, Kira Hedgeland in today's race.
Charlotte Derbyshire, third today at Devonport Oceania Sprint Championships, but more importantly, first and gold medal in the under-23 race. Tell us a bit about it.
Yes, I'm so stoked. I honestly, I know I've been training well, but I wasn't really expecting that. So I'm really, really excited. I'm really happy with my race. Yeah.
You look like you had a pretty strong swim, but you're a little bit off. Emma and Nicole were up the road. So how did you sort of manage that bike leg to try and stay in touch?
We just had to work. We had to work pretty hard the first couple laps to try catch them, but then the pack behind us kind of caught up, so we had a bit more people working, which made it a bit easier. And then caught them on with 2 laps to go, and then it was kind of just rolling turns from there.
And you had a really good transition, so you're pretty quick out onto the run. Tell us a bit about your run leg.
My run lately has been going pretty well. I still wasn't expecting to be where I was, but I was just tried to stay calm the first lap, and then I guess try hold on for the second lap on the third. So yeah, pretty happy with it.
Kira Hedgeland was just saying that she tried to surge a couple of times and couldn't drop you until the final bit.
Yeah, she was surging, but yeah, she finally got me. I was trying to just like stay with her, but yeah, her last surge was too strong, and yeah, she left me dead.
So well done, gold medal, under 23 champion, and also bronze in the elite race, so well done.
Thank you so much, thank you.
That's terrific. So from the ladies we move to the men, and they are now ready to go. As we can see, they're down on the beach. They've just had their introductions a few minutes ago. Of course, for all the local Tasmanians, of course, there is Jake Birtwhistle, ranked number 2, Brandon Copeland, who was introduced first. He was also 22nd at Abu Dhabi, the Gold Coast local. Of course, Jake from Launceston, just along the street. And then competitors, as the siren has gone, and it is a sprint to get underway. And as we can see, the tide is on its way out, and it's a long sprint before they get to the water, and they now hit it as they head towards that first buoy, which is again that 300 metre odd swim, but it is certainly lengthened up. So I think the almost have to change what the triathlon is. It's a run swim just to get to the water to get them underway. So they are in the water now, and you can see the arms frantically going over towards that first buoy. But already, Craig, that was a great race in the ladies division.
Yeah, it certainly was. What a fantastic run from Nicole. And certainly the Aussie girls, Charlotte Derbyshire finishing third from Kira Hedgeland in second, and good signs for those under 23 athletes. But Nicole's certainly a class act. She's showing some really good form, and she's certainly going to be, you know, a very big player in the season coming forwards in the World Series.
I haven't met her personally, but just seemed from that interview a ripping young lady. No doubt about that.
Yeah, no, she's quality. She said she was off air that she'd been doing a bit of training in New Plymouth. The World Cup's coming up there the next week or the week after. Yep. And so she's been basing herself down there, getting used to the conditions. So look to see her race really well, and basically a hometown race in New Zealand.
Very much. Well, she's had her last couple of races have been winners, so it is now down to the men, and they'll be out in this swim, of course, that's 750 metres depending on the tidal conditions, but one would expect them to be sub 10 on this swim as they're pushing out. It stayed reasonably calm still, which is good. That wind, as predicted, hasn't come up as strongly as we had thought. So they're just now, nice stroke. You can see there, good stroke. Actually pushing further afield, just a little bit of a gap there on the pack.
Yeah, certainly a long run, so it certainly suits the long-legged swim waders here and have that surf experience. As we mentioned in the women's race, the tides drop, so the men have to swim a little bit further out to sea, so it's a little bit more exposed because they've swim out past the Devonport Bluff headland. Yes. And that's a great view there. It is starting to get a little bit lumpy, but not too bad. And they're not too far off that first turning buoy. Expect to see athletes like Brandon Copeland right up there in this swim. He's a very talented swimmer.
Now, Craig, those conditions and moving those buoys further out apart from that headland, that makes it a lot different to swim, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Makes it a bit choppier swim and a longer run as well. So it is slightly different from the para triathlon event this morning, which was of a high tide, so very limited wading into the water. And then obviously the elite women, now the elite men.
So I'll just have a look at that when you go round there. It's almost like a David Attenborough documentary, one of those feeding frenzies of when you put a bit of bait in and they just whoosh all over the top of each other.
Yes,
it can be a bit scary sometimes if you do get caught in there. These guys are very elite, but still, you know, it's a bit untoward, isn't it? With flailing arms.
Yeah, it can be very intimidating. It's certainly not where you want to be caught inside those cans. But, you know, you've got to protect your space if you can and try and get clear water.
Just makes me laugh, Craig, back in the day when I used to line up and the race starters would say in the triathlon infancy, if you're not a very good swimmer, just make sure you go to the back, and there'd be always some clown who'd take themselves at the start and they couldn't swim and they'd almost drown as everyone went straight over the top. But we've come a long way since those days. There's rankings and people have woken up to the fact that it's not where they need to be.
Yep.
So now that this is... It's even so different the way the swim is when you're swimming out over the swell, parallel with the beach. You've got that rocking motion until when all of a sudden you go round that last buoy and you are heading home indeed with it behind you and potentially get a little wave. And I say little wave, it's not much surface, but there's a little bit of a swell where they're coming in. There's no doubt about that.
No, so round in that far can, so they're heading to shore now. There's a little bit of lift from those waves, but there's also that lag as you fall off the back of that runner, and you've got to work a little bit further. You've got to bring your legs in to try and keep your rating up. It's certainly a hard swim, and it's pretty lumpy. You've got to look at shorting your stroke up and try and get your rating up, and just have a look at that swimming on top of each other.
Because that is a great skill in itself, where you see sometimes where you almost lean into your swim in a shorter stroke, maybe on the right-hand side, almost like when you're in a kayak, you know, with the paddle. You're trying to get yourself around that corner nice and tight and quickly. And it's the same as everyone else. So here they come now, the splash and the dash of the 750 metres. That is the elite men in the Oceania Championships. It was interesting in the Abu Dhabi. Brandon Copeland did go there. How did he go? I think it was about a 53-51. He came 22nd, and his swim indeed was a 9:27. So just interesting to see how he does come out. Going to be a pretty slick transition, probably about a minute and a quarter, something of that nature, and then onto the bike, where we'd assume somewhere between 26, 28 minutes, something like that, potentially, maybe a little bit more, but around that time. Very, very slippery on that second transition. It's just a matter of a flip-flop, probably, I don't know, 20 seconds odd, I would have thought, and then a quick dash out, and that's when the race really gets underway with that last run. It's probably around that 15-odd minute mark, I would have thought, a little bit less, potentially. It would have been probably a little bit that. So going very, very nicely now as they come in towards the beach.
Yeah, look, they're over halfway in. They're not too far into the wave area, and just that side-on shot was a magnificent shot of how quick they were swimming. The boys at the front were travelling very quickly, having that little bit of a lift from the waves. And it's a great picture there. Devonport, the ocean.
It is, isn't it?
Beautiful yacht out in the background, enjoying the sunny weather today.
Well, it is down in Tasmania that aquatic events are very, very popular. There is no doubt about that. I know I'm a Hobartian, so I'm a little bit further south, and you look out in the Derwent River every weekend and there is a flotilla of yachts. There's rowing in the mornings and all of that sort of water activity is very popular. As we see here, the swimmers are coming toe-to-toe, if you like. Look at this, stroke for stroke, coming towards the beach. You pick up there, Craig, on who that might be. Is that, I thought that was Jake Birdwhistle, was it, in the greyish cap? Maybe I was incorrect. We'll wait in a minute.
It's a bit hard.
It is a bit too hard to say. We'll see in a second, though, won't we?
We get them in, so.
All right.
But they're coming into the wave area now. Who can pick up a little wave?
Well, they're up and standing.
And there's a lot of them.
And they are running now. That's, gee whiz, how far would that be? That'd be 300, couple hundred metres at least.
It's a good run.
It's quite a run, as you can see now.
And Dylan McCullough is leading them out, the New Zealand boy. Very strong bike rider. They won't want to let him get away. So great swim from him. So he's right there. Dylan McCullough, New Zealand, leading them out of the water. Fantastic him. He's got a handy little lead there. Callum McCluskey from Australia, and then Jones, Corbett from New Zealand's there, Thorpe from New Zealand's there. Watching these other athletes come through. Jake Birtwhistle is just off the back of that group. He's got to get onto that group because Dylan McCullough is not going to wait. He's going to go hard. He's a very strong bike rider. There's more coming through. Remember, this is an elite and under 23 race, so there are some more races here just in the under 23 category as they get to their bike.
I'll tell you what, I think Jake heard you because you could see him passing one or two to get to his bike, wasn't he? He absolutely knows how crucial this is to pick him up.
You don't want to miss that group. There's some really strong young cyclists in this group, and they're certainly going to try and get as much of a lead as they can. They probably don't want to have a running race with Jake with his in form.
Yes,
bearing
absolutely.
in mind he's coming off a long distance racing, and he's hungry today because he got a penalty in the race in Wanaka, and then he got a flat tyre coming out of T1 in the World Series in Abu Dhabi. So he's had no results in his last two starts. So he's very keen for a performance today.
Yeah, it's not what you want. There's no doubt about that. So they now are out on the racetrack as some of the other competitors are coming up and going onto their bikes. And it looks like now, Craig, that everyone is indeed through the transition area and gone.
They are. Don't blink. They are out of the water. The swim is over.
So it was Dylan McCullough. Yeah, Dylan McCullough from New Zealand. For you, did that any surprises?
No, Dylan's certainly a very talented athlete, and starting to show his pedigree. Had a very good race in New Zealand just recently. Callum McCluskey was there as well. He won that race in Taupo as well. So this is a really strong field. They are racing really well, and Dylan is a strong bike rider, so that's our group there. Yeah, so Callum McCluskey, who wasn't far in there, he won in Wanaka at the Oceania Cup, and then finished 7th in Taupo. So having some really good races this year already.
Yeah, I was about to say that I'd taken that note that Callum had won that last race. So he's in really, really good form.
Yeah, and certainly...
when we get that lead pack in a second, it will give us a great indication of the size of that lead group. So they're out now on the first of 4 laps.
They're heading to the hill, so we should have vision of the hill very shortly as they climb up there.
Yeah, that's going to be the tester, isn't it? And from your experience then, is there any one or two you think that hill might favour?
Oh, certainly Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan, yeah.
Jake's very strong on the bike as well. There's a number of athletes here as well. Kai Wild. Yep. I'm not sure where he was out of the water, but certainly he's a very strong cyclist. So some of these young guns, keep an eye on Trent Thorpe, the New Zealand boy as well. He's certainly very strong. Okay, so the athletes are out on the course proper and racing, head down and away they go. You can see there, still got, it looks like 1 and 2 coming around now. Look at this. So there's McCullough and McCluskey. Well, there you go. So they are, and here's a chase group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a big group chasing. So now there's decision time. Do we try and go off the front and break them away, or do we sit and wait? And it looks like they're probably going to get mowed down. I think there's a pretty motivated group chasing behind, but there's 2 strong cyclists there. This is tough. They're burning up this hill. Just keep an eye out also too for Janus Steffenberg. He's finished 2nd in the last race in Taupo a week or so ago, and so he's certainly showing some form as well, the Kiwis. And have a look at them; they're struggling up that hill. But I think nearly all the athletes are all on the hill at the one time. Yeah, great. That's really good for the race. There is no doubt about that. So Callum McCluskey, of course, came in with very, very good form. No doubt about that from his win in Taupo in New Zealand in race 1.
as they'll quickly go around there, and in just a second you'll see a flash. Don't blink, and you'll see how close they've got up to those leading two competitors, that being the New Zealand Dylan McCulloch and Callum McCluskey. As they go over the rise, we'll see that motorbike in just a second.
Here's the two
leaders.
Here we go. Look, they're right there.
They're right together, and 30 odd metres odd back to the chase group.
Just trying to. Dylan's given him had a really big effort there, big swim, big first 3 or 4K on the bike. Just trying to recover now. I think they've realised that they are going to be caught, so they're just sitting it up, taking a little bit easier. And who's in third place? It's Jake Birdwhistle. So he's right there as well. So he's had a significant transition and first 2-3K of the bike to close this down.
We did say that we saw the urgency that he wanted to get up and make sure he didn't let those guys get away.
Yep.
And he's done so, although he hasn't quite got up yet. They haven't got anything significant, so
these
no
guys
main damage.
These guys that are chasing now, they'll be hoping that the group gets together and they sit up a little bit and they have a chance to get on as well, which may well happen unless attacks come from that front group to keep the pace high. You'd expect some of these will get back on as well.
That's the thing that can happen, isn't it? Once they can get in a group, like you just said, almost sit up and slightly get comfortable where the others can get more in a groove to get up to them, and they don't. It's very hard to switch on and off pace. So if someone is, again, really fired up and catching them up, that adrenaline rush through the body can really propel them forward. So you can see now a little bit of distance as they come round the corners and turn that hard left. Little bit of distance back to some of the competitors now.
Yeah, certainly not where you want to be. If you just have that poor swim or a little bit slow transition and you miss that group in this short, sharp racing, it's very, very hard to come back.
This is when the mind games come in, doesn't it, Craig, as an athlete, especially if you think to yourself, I should have been in that group. And the reality is, where you are now, you're thinking, I can't get up. But it's a long way to go. This is a hard day at the office, and it's a real mental challenge. Big mental challenge.
It certainly is. I guess the only good thing is that it's only an hour of racing, so you can tough it out. But and look, for some of these athletes, the points that they gain a bit further down the list can be the difference between getting starts in other events later on. So you really do want to finish if you can finish, because those points do make a difference later on down in the year.
Not only that, tell me I'm wrong here, Craig, but then you draw from the experience, because then all of a sudden when you're having another day and you think to yourself, when I was feeling, excuse the French, crap, and I was well back, I could have had a choice. I sort of give it away, or I really push on. And then you draw from those experiences to make you a better athlete. So,
yeah, you've certainly just got to set yourself some short-term goals.
Correct.
And get through the course and try and pick a few off during the run, because some of these will blow up because they're riding above the limit. But here's our lead pack.
Yeah, here they go.
And they are still driving pretty hard, so they certainly haven't sat up. They're certainly not going to let the pace off.
But they're together now. You can see, look, Jake's caught up and brought everyone else up. Have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. It's a cracker of a race here at Devonport in the Oceania Sprint Series. And going along very nicely. This is the last of our races today, but dare I say it'll be the most quickest one across the journey.
Looks like there's about 23 athletes in that group. And then you've got this chase group of 4 that certainly going to be hard for them to get on if that pace stays on.
Yeah, it looks like a good pace, doesn't
they're going to be in a little bit of trouble, especially when they can see him coming back the other way.
So there they all go.
Now it's a matter of actually staying aware. 23, 24 people on the bike, you don't want to be riding down the back, because the good cyclists will attack and it'll concertina out and you may not get back on, or you're doing expanding way more energy than you need to do. So you need to ride towards the front. You need to be able to cover it, especially in a sprint race. You would imagine that someone like a Dylan McCulloch, he's going to try and steal a bit of a break on the last lap.
Yep.
Try and gain that 5, 10, 15 seconds break. That could be enough to launch him on the run to go for victory. So you still got to stay alert.
It's quite interesting, and when we talk about that, for the uninitiated, you're talking in seconds, but it's all of a sudden, if you can count 1, 2, 3, whatever seconds and the amount of time a bike goes, that's a fair bit of distance. Yeah, so it mightn't sound much, but it is.
Especially when you, if you're climbing the hill and someone else is coming down the hill, while it might be the same time, the actual distance is can extend out pretty quick.
So there they go, back out to William Street, some turning one way, then back the other. It's good that the athletes will always be able to lift their head up and see where they're going in comparison to other competitors.
So an Aussie and a Kiwi working hard down there to complete their first lap. So they've got 15 kilometres to go on this bike course. And as the sun's out, the clouds have blown away, but that does mean the wind has picked up a little bit, and it's actually swung around a little bit to the northeast. So what that means is that they will now be facing a bit of a tailwind down to the far end of the course and a headwind back. So whereas this morning it was the opposite, this afternoon it's tailwind heading and slightly crosswind, but more tail down to the far end of the course. But they've got to work really hard coming back into the wind.
No doubt about that. So the sprint is on. Yeah, it was interesting just recently, wasn't it, with in Tasmania we had another triathlon, the Ironman distance in Hobart, and Jake went to that and was able to go very nicely at the longer distance.
Yeah, his first attempt at that and got the win, and 70.3 Tasmania. But Brandon Copeland is leading this group up this hill.
Here he goes.
Hails from up in the Northern Rivers, New South Wales. Young Brandon, talented athlete. Had a fantastic race in his first race in the World Series in Abu Dhabi recently, and found himself with a very quick transition and leading out onto the run leg for the first K. So, well, we've got a bike mechanical. Someone's changed gears halfway up the hill, and that can be a very, very dangerous to your race.
Yeah, look at that.
Trying to pick it up, who that athlete is. But that's not great, because now you've got to try and get back on the bike on a very steep part of the hill. Oh, look at them wobbling at the top of the climb.
Yeah, that gives you more sense, doesn't it, of what it's like then.
It's really, really important you got your gearing right and you don't change gears. Or clipping back in. He's done well. Well done. Great job. Or is he?
Yep.
Well done.
Well done indeed.
Well done.
That was challenging, wasn't it? Yeah, because once you get in those clip-in pedals, it's not like you can just sort of slip them out and go over the side.
So he's made a decision to either drop off the big chain onto the little chain ring, and he's dropped his chain. And so he's lost that to the chase pack now. So he'll be ruining that decision. It's very important you come and do your course reconnaissance and you make that decision what gear you're going to ride in before the race, because it's really important. And these guys are flying down the hill.
They are flying down the hill.
Trying to pick that number. I think it was number 21. So that would be...
Is it 21?
Yes. Maybe I missed it.
23 is certainly
try and get that next time around.
Dylan McCulloch, but anyway, we'll go there. While the athletes are going here, I want to start picking your brains a little bit, Craig. So the sport of triathlon started at the beginnings, I think, way back in the US, really came to Australia, but it's huge in Europe now. Like, is that maybe because of the cycling? What is it? But it's certainly, it's interesting now when I look at the best in the world. I think it's Great Britain especially, and even the Nordic countries. It's so huge. So certainly the tentacles of triathlon have spread globally, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think you'd probably agree that in the early days, certainly USA and Australia and a few Kiwis, and it dominated. But in those really early pioneering days, a lot of Australian and Kiwi athletes spent a lot of time in Europe racing for French clubs and German clubs. And then, look, as soon as it became Olympic status, then the whole ball game changed, because
didn't it?
A lot of these bigger federations then started putting money into performance pathways and developing high performance programs and aiming at the Olympics. And so once that happened, the Euros got serious, and certainly there's a lot of good athletes that now come out of Europe, and it's very much Europe, and the Brits and the French and the Spanish and heaps more the Dutch, very, 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 very strong triathlon nations. But the Kiwis and the Aussies certainly punch above their weight. They have to spend a lot of time overseas for them. It's you know, most pro athletes in Australia spend up to 8-9 months of the year away from home. So when they get home races or within Oceania like Devonport and Wanaka and Taupo in New Zealand, they really relish those events because they don't have to travel as far. But you know, all eyes turn to Europe next year after this summer.
Very much so, as races coming down. It's more technical area. It's still fascinating as a younger man. I always admired when I looked at the Dave Scotts and the Scott Tinleys and the Mark Allens when they did the World Ironman series in Kona. And then, of course, when we had that breakthrough with Welsh, finally getting that win, and then we went on and had some great champions over there. Kaylee Jones, of course, and so many more. And now
here's our lead pack coming through. So they've completed 2 laps now. So they're halfway through the bike. As I said, there's a big bike group. That's actually the chase group going through. We just missed the first group, and this is one of our tail-end athletes, unfortunately, that's a fair way down going up the climb.
It's a really good shot to show you, excuse me, what is lying ahead, as here are our athletes coming through.
They're still riding very hard. You can see they're struggling to stay on wheels, and there's gaps opening up in that group, so it's not staying. They're certainly being driven on the front, so the strong cyclists are still making it hard, and they should do too, because this group's pushing hard to try and get on, and if they do, that's just more athletes they've got to run against in that group. So it's in their interest to work and keep the other athletes at bay.
It's really interesting, isn't it? You're jockeying for the last section. When I say jockeying, I mean it's a race, and they're going hard. But when you actually look across and you know that there are certain athletes that might be quicker than you, and so now's your opportunity to, if you want to stay in the races, to get that little break on them. There's some more racers go over those couple of dips. They've got to be careful. Concentrate at all times when you've got those dips in front, and here they come again. Head down, working hard.
See that little flick of the elbow, trying to encourage the cyclists behind them to come out and do their turn, but they weren't that keen.
I think that was Harvey Lanigan saying, "Come on, mate, help me out."
He's saying, "No, you're doing a great job. I'm just going to sit right
sit
here."
in behind, thank you very much.
Some like to get out and do their share, and some just can't, because they're right in that red zone and riding as hard as they can just to stay in touch.
It was Jack Mitchell who just went round a few minutes ago there, so we wait with interest that we see there. A couple of laps, so they're in that back part of the cycle here in the Oceania Sprint Series race number 2 in Devonport in Tasmania on the northwest coast. This beautiful island.
Certainly
splendid.
The history of the races here, I can certainly remember way back, and it's hosted a number of Oceania Championships that had automatic qualifying spots for the Olympic Games, and I can certainly remember back when a young Chris Gemmell, the Kiwis will know Chris Gemmell, was racing here and had an absolute blind of a race to lock in a spot for the Olympics. I'm pretty sure that was for Athens from memory that time. So there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of Kiwis that have raced in Devonport over the years and have very fond memories of the course and the atmosphere and the feel for the race.
Yeah, very much so. So it is the 38th year that this race has been run. Of course, started way back in 1985. And the town then, as they do now, come out and support the athletes. Up they go, climbing up the hill. There's As we wait for that lead, you can all see there, just maybe another gear change or something there, Craig. It was interesting. Just all of a sudden a quick drop. Maybe something's wrong with the bike. Look at this.
Oh, it may have just popped.
Yeah, yeah.
It is such an unrelenting hill. It doesn't give up on you. You've got to ride hard all the way over the top. Even now, just struggling to get over that edge. It's brutal, absolutely brutal.
Up they go, and down they come.
Not much time to recover.
No, there's not.
Bit of a gap opening up there. You don't want to lose wheels through here because you can get into that technical part and suddenly a gap's open.
There is a little gap just forming.
Trying to spot who's in that group. Certainly the Kiwi cyclists love a tough course. Certainly you usually see a few tight ones in around Taupo, and so they'll be loving this. Once again, you don't want to be sitting back there. I think that's the Austrian athlete hanging off the back. You don't want to be back there.
Just going fast around the corners, then into the brakes.
Lovely turn.
It is a lovely turn, isn't it? That's tight, but they're making it look like it isn't. They're very good, these guys, the way they've gone around those corners so beautifully, smoothly. Again, just leaning in to get the angles, and you can see there a bit of frustration, thinking, how can I get there? Now there is how to get right down low. The aerodynamics.
Some nice free speed down that hill, and just look at the small gap they opened just through that, just by getting that little bit lower.
And then pushing hard.
So it shouldn't be too far away. The lead cyclists will be coming in to complete their third lap with 1 lap to go. And we'll see a fair bit of jostling here, up over the hill and trying to get that. A little bit tricky as you come into transition. You've got a little bit of a chicane and a bit of a straight, and then you're straight off the bike, and quite a long run with the bikes in transition here at Devonport, with a U-turn at the bottom of the transition area.
I guess you've got to be pretty careful when there's a whole bunch there to make sure you dismount in the correct timing and don't get any disqualification points or time penalties. It's that stop-start, isn't it? You go round, free wheel, then maybe just get up out of the saddle, get that momentum going, back again, push, and then you get back down into your rhythm, and away you go. Back around this corner. There's no getting away with it there, Craig. When you go into Coles Beach Road, do you just look to your left and think, oh, that big hill coming up in a second? It's not going away.
The interesting thing with this hill is you don't get a run at it because you're coming straight off a corner. And here we go. So someone's had a bit of a breakaway here. I'm not surprised. I thought someone wouldn't sit waiting. I'm just trying to pick up who that athlete is. So Kai Wild, that's not surprising. Very strong cyclist. So Kai Wild has had a bit of a break.
Yep.
And he's going to make every post a winner as he tries to gain a few free seconds. 1 lap to go, 5 kilometres, 1 more time up that tough hill.
Yep.
I'm sure they're really happy they're not racing the standard distance today and have to go up that hill another 4 times. I think 4 is enough instead of 8. And so Kai Wild at the far turn with the chase pack now. He could get a bit of time here if these guys decide not to chase. Just trying to see who that's going around there. A little bit hard with the glare of the sun.
It is hard, yeah.
But this is the far bit, so they'll go back past transition and then head back out to Coles Beach for the last time. And Frisbee of Australia is just tailing off the back of the field there, bringing them up. And you can see they string out so quickly when you the back.
Yep.
And the second chase back, not that far away.
No, they're not.
If they work hard, they may be able to just get on the back of them by the end, by T2.
So now they push around that corner through almost like a chicane, if you like, and they know that they're going to head to that last hill for the last time, and that's where Kyle Wilder will be absolutely thrilled. He thinks, well, here's my chance. This is my moment. What have I got? Can I make an impression on them and get up and away while they have a bit of lethargy? They might stick together and think that we can pull him in, but if he goes hard, who knows? It could be his day. So we'll watch when he starts to get up that hill in just a few moments.
So Luke Scott from New Zealand leading that group through. Another one of the Kiwi contingent. I was in Melbourne the other day and I was on a flight back, and there was a number of Kiwis on my flight back into Devonport on Thursday. So a big contingent over. Certainly a number of their development athletes. They've got an eye on not only with Paris, but certainly LA and Brisbane after that. And a lot of these athletes are also looking at the relay as well. So they're looking for not necessarily getting the individual spot, but getting a team spot in the relay. So having that ability to put down a 15-20 minute race is very crucial.
So we just saw that was Rory Thornhill. He went through just a second ago, putting in some good meterage with those big muscles pushing down on the pedals. It's not just pushing down the pedals, it's lifting up. You clipped in on these pedals there. The aerodynamic style of the bikes, the handlebars are quite close together. Very light bikes. You can push them along pretty swiftly.
So this is our tail cyclist here. Now he's got to keep an eye on this because...
Here we go. Look at that lead.
And Kyle Wild has gone for it. Burt Whistle riding his second.
Yep.
Kyle's gone hard. Now, the bit of a thing here for the athlete that had just come around, he may get lapped out here, so he needs to work really hard to make sure he stays in front of this group, because if you get caught lapped on the bike, you're withdrawn from the race. So he needs to make sure he stays ahead of this chase group. But Kai Wild, he's up the hill and over, and now there's an attack from this group. And from this view, it looks like it could be Dylan McCullough.
Yeah, I think it is.
And he's a very strong cyclist, so he's saying, right, I'm going to chase you over the top. That's a great view from over that top, how hard those athletes are working.
And Jake Birtwhistle, I think, was in third, just getting up to the top and then along. And it's on this next shot when they come back. It'll be the interesting one to see what distance they put in, as we just almost wait for them to come over the horizon and then down. Here we come.
So here we go, Kai Wild. He's making every poster winner coming down that hill. Very, very strong cyclist. Strong cycling pedigree. So he's gained some great time here, some free speed down the hill.
He's almost got the hill.
He's got really good bike skills. You watch him take these corners. Very talented cyclist. Gets in there, gets his angles, pushing down on that outside of the pedal to swing the bike around. Great smooth turn.
Look at that, he's really trying to make every post a winner, isn't he? He had a glance and he thought, right, here's my moment.
It's probably eased out to about 10 seconds. So who's in this chase group? People are moving off the front. You don't want to be caught here because everyone's now scrounging, and there's going to be a massive 2-kilometre sprint to the finish, to T2.
Yep.
And you can lose position for T2 and consequently not be in touch for the run.
So, of course, T2, that'll be very swift. It's, 15, 20 seconds where you just throw everything off, be gentle where you put it, make sure it gets in the right area. Don't need more penalties.
So that one will have to go where we just saw on the screen. That's obviously for the cyclist that's close to being lapped. Let's go through.
Let's hope they can stay out there.
Now, we had a bit of an issue in Wanaka, I understand, where Jake Birtwhistle stepped onto the dismount line, missed the line, and was subsequently disqualified for not serving the penalty at the time. So he's learned. Hopefully, he's learned his lesson there. Make sure they got him in.
So they are pushing hard toward the transition area. Is that our?
That's our tail end pushing through. So hopefully, yep, he's survived, so he can
keep going.
He can keep going and do the run.
Is he going to say, is that a good thing or a bad thing? No, it's a great thing.
So our chase cyclists should be coming into transition pretty soon, so we'll get some vision of that. This is the back end of the field coming down to finish the hill for the last time. I'm sure they'll be very pleased that they've gone up that hill for the last time.
Swiftly coming around, sharp turn, pushing down on the pedals.
So this is our last cyclist. So he's heading back out. So he's all clear now. He's got through that turnaround.
Can relax. Well, not relax. Relax the thought that young Jack Mitchell is going to continue in his race, and he'll get a lot of good experience from this particular race.
So Kyle Wild has got a significant time lead here.
Yeah, let's have a look.
So Kai's a very strong swim biker. Just not quite the pedigree of some of the runners in this field, but he's certainly more than capable to hold them off.
Well, sometimes, Craig, there can be a day for firsts.
That's right, every time.
You know.
And so Kai Wild comes down into transition, has got quite a bit of a run here with his bike. And it'll be the charge of the Light Brigade directly behind him. So
here he goes, he went very wide.
Oscar Dart, Victorian athlete next, and McCluskey's right there. Dylan McCulloch's there, Brandon Copeland's there. Having a look where they are. I can see Jake Burtwhistle in about 8th or 9th place.
He's gone wide. Now he's chopped in.
Stefan Berg from New Zealand's there, Morgan from New Zealand, Haycock from New Zealand, Bate, Course and Burtwhistle. Then it's the Austrian athlete, Purdle right there. That's probably your top group there. The rest of the tail, there's the Chinese Taipei athlete, Pan is there as well. So well, that was quick, don't blink.
There they go, and they're out. The race begins. Fantastic. So with 5 kilometres left in this race.
Who's got the legs? Callum McCluskey, certainly a class runner.
I can't say that as Jake Burtwhistle went up there, he looked slightly fatigued and a couple just went past, but maybe he was just sort of jockeying to get up there. But we know he's an elite runner, but they all can run. Don't worry about that. And look at the pace. He says, let's get into this momentum and go.
Yep, Kai Wild, he's making every post a winner. He's going hard. He's now he's being hunted. He's the rabbit.
Yeah.
The hounds are chasing him.
Because this is very different when you are out there.
So certainly got some more athletes coming in. Powell's from Australia, Parry from New Zealand, Schofield from Australia, Corbett, New Zealand, Scott, New Zealand are all into transition now. As we have a look around, I see that Brandon Copeland going through. Pick up some of those athletes.
I saw Burtwhistle just in a few minutes ago, and now here they all go. So fascinating race to watch as it unfolds now. It's a foot race to see who can win the Devonport race in the Oceania Sprint Series for 2023.
There was some great racing in Wanaka and Taupo just recently. So we expect to be another tight run here. Some more athletes coming through. And don't forget the under-23 titles up for grabs here as well. So Thornhill from Australia and Wesley from Australia is there. Millam and Colin, all Australian athletes. Layan, Dixon, Marshall from New Zealand is in that group, and Williams also from Australia.
So as we watch them come into the transition, you watch T2, they just go flip-flop, and then it's get the shoes on and quickly out they go.
Yeah, so it was a great transition coming in. Initially was Oscar Dart coming in. He was certainly one of the leading under-23 athletes, Oscar Dart from Victoria. So that was a good start for him. Hopefully he can hold on. And it is warming up out there. It's a bit deceptive. It's quite a dry heat here in Tasmania, so once the sun comes out, it can be quite brutal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's that chase group heading out onto the run. So they run down along the Esplanade and down past some Victoria Parade and the Mersey River.
Yep. Very picturesque. There's no doubt about that.
So this will be a very quick run. You'd expect these guys to be sitting around the 15-minute mark.
I was thinking 15 minutes would pull them up.
It's a very, don't obviously the bike can take a little bit of sting out of their legs, but some world-class athletes here that have raced in all around the world.
Yep. So we look forward. Here we go.
So just trying to get a bit of, is that McCluskey?
Yes, it is McCluskey.
Being hunted down by Jake Birtwistle leading the next chase group. So he's got a pretty handy lead there. So McCluskey is there, then Birtwistle. We're not sure where Kai Wild is. He may have been in front of them. Just need to check that. So they're heading down to the far turnaround.
Hopefully on that next camera angle we might get a bit of judgment of this. There's no hiding out there with so many competitors around you. You really got to stay in good form.
She's a wide, hot mix road, and so you can just, it's a very fast run course.
Here we go.
So that's McCluskey. Going really well. So he won recently in Taupo. So certainly got some really good form. And then we've got Birtwistle. I'm just trying to pick up who's that with him.
So the question is Kai Wild?
Yeah, so McCluskey, he's absolutely going for broke. So he won in Wanaka,
yep,
and finished 7th in Taupo. I stand corrected. So he's had some good form races in the last couple of weeks.
Winning form is good form, and it can be something you can get used to. Once you get your belief, you think you can do it all the time. So now, really starting to ask a lot of questions of the other runners. You catch me if you can. I know I can win this, and he's gone off.
Yep.
We know that emotions will play a big part in Jacob Birtwistle, being in his home state, of course. He's doing a great job, but he'd really want to be at the top podium spot, wouldn't he?
Yeah, certainly. The boy he's from Launceston, he's about 100k away. This is one of the races, his first ever races that got him into triathlon. He's won here before. He certainly really wants to win today.
Yeah.
So he's not going to give up without a fight. And his family and friends are here watching him race, because they don't often get to watch him race live these days, because he doesn't get to race in his home state very often.
And as you quite rightly said, the last couple of races didn't get the finishes because of a couple of other varying reasons. So he certainly putting his best foot forward as we speak. And here we go now with...
So these are our chase group heading down to the far round. So that indicates 1.25k of their 5 kilometre run. So when they get back... So McCluskey, he's being hunted down by Birtwistle, who's dropped the Kiwi athlete, and he's out in hunting for him. Stefflenberg from New Zealand in 3rd. So this is a cracking race.
So let's get a sense. There's McCluskey.
So what about a 6 to 7 second gap? Does look a little bit comfortable. Stefflenberg is running really well. He had a fantastic race in the year. Luke Bates there, Brandon Copeland's there, and I think there's that Dylan McCullough there as well.
Yep.
Dylan McCullough may well be the first under-23 athlete in this race.
So, of course, he came out #1 in the swim, as we see Dart, Pearl from...
Yep, so Oscar Dart would be second in the under-23 section of this race. So look at that, there's
also
the gap.
Saxon Morgan.
There's the gap. So it's Callum McCluskey.
Let's have a look. 1, 2...
So here we go. He's the hunter.
4 seconds, maybe?
4 seconds, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, he's looking behind. That's not a good sign.
I counted 4.
So he's had a look behind to see where Jake is. That's not a good sign when you've got 2.5k to go. But certainly a class runner. McCluskey's already had a race win this year in the Oceania Series. And there's some good runners back here. Brandon Copeland, Dylan McCullough, Luke Bate.
Well, one thing I can say, Craig, now is not the time to put the kettle on. Stay in your chair, stay transfixed to the screens. So we're bringing you a great race here now. as it is starting to warm up, both temperature and temperature on track with the race. It's a hot one.
And there's Kai Wild going through.
But now you can see starting to look behind a little bit as they do there. So sprinting down along the way. Here we go.
So he's being hunted down. This is a cracking race. I think Jake's a very experienced track runner, so whether he's just going to bide his time and wait for the kick. He has a lethal kick.
Yes, he has.
Callum may well have something up his sleeve as well. He's also a class runner.
And as we said, got winning form. So it is Callum McCluskey from Jake Birtwistle here in the Oceania Sprint Series in Devonport.
Yeah, so Australia 1, Australia 2, New Zealand 3rd. And another couple of Aussies, and then I think Dylan McCullough was in that group as well, in that top group.
But that is very quick running, and
so Janice Steffenberg is also having some great form. He got 9th in Wanaka, but then bounced back for a 2nd place in Taupo. So he's certainly showing some form. So if he can hang on the podium here, he's had a really good Oceania series.
So there we see
the Chinese Taipei athlete Pan just going through as well. So they're racing here from all over the world.
All bunched up there from our friends in New Zealand. That was Ivan Abel as well going through from the under-23 division. Number 24 just went through. So they spin back around now, and it'll be fascinating when we get a glimpse of our leaders to see if McCluskey is hanging on to the race. We know it's certainly got it in him, but the man behind him, we know, has got a good burst, and he's also got plenty of emotion and running through his veins in his home track.
I'm sure there's plenty of Tasmanians yelling out Jake at the moment out on the course, his hometown race. And look, we know he's got the miles in the legs because he's just come off some long course racing, so the distance is not going to worry him. It's just how he's feeling and whether that kick's there.
That's right.
Hopefully we'll get to camera angle of the far turnaround when they get down to that point. They've got 1.25 kilometres to go. So just over a kilometre to run.
Big sprint. So that'll be a very, very quick kilometre.
So here we are. He's being hunted. They're not at the turnaround just yet. They're still heading down to it.
Stride for stride.
But he's just sitting there, just almost like a cat playing with their prey.
Yeah. Feel the breath on his neck.
Yep.
Just thinking. And this is where the mind games really come in. We don't know how Jake's feeling, but he's trying to apply that mental pressure as if to sort of, that applied pressure says, I can take you at any time. But who knows? Callum McCluskey says, well, listen, son, I won the last one. I can hold you off.
Yeah, he's very strong.
So he's a strong athlete.
He got himself out of transition and in a great position for the run. Jake didn't panic. Worked his way through the field, just picked him off and got himself onto his shoulder. So now it's down to the final kilometre and a bit. 1 kilometre to go, and to crown our 2023 Oceania Sprint Distance champion.
So there's
Oscar Dart, by the looks of it, running through as well. So here they are.
There they are. Right alongside now. Here is the challenge. He's come up beside him. What have you got? And now, Jake Birtwistle has taken the lead. So he's gone early as I bid farewell to Craig Redmond, and he dashes across at great pace towards the finishing line to have that interview as our leaders now. They can smell the finishing line. You can see their nostrils are flared as they head toward that line. All the adoring fans of Jacob Birtwistle are trying to urge him on, but Callum McCluskey is a tough hombre and he is really holding tight. Excuse me. So it's going to be fascinating to see the finish of that particular race as more of the competitors come round. You can see the beautiful views here in Devonport. But it's down, we're inside that last kilometre, and we hope that we'll transition down to that last finishing straight in just a few seconds, ladies and gentlemen, to see if it's either Callum McCluskey or Jake Birtwistle. As we can hear the bell. So just waiting for the runners to come in to vision. There is the rest of the pack chasing hard, coming back towards the finishing line now. They're all heading in that right direction, back around from the turn, and they are heading home. And the race is certainly heating up, weather-wise and the competitive nature of it. It is Callum McCluskey and Jake Birtwistle out in the front of the 2023 Oceania Sprint Series race number 2 here in Devonport, Tasmania, on the beautiful northwest coast. You can see a couple of the New Zealand lads pushing down along, and it is Jake Birtwistle just got his nose in front. You can see the strain, and look at Callum McCluskey. He is staying with him, and he might have another kick. It is right into the home straight, and is Birtwistle just getting in front, but it's going to be very, very close. McCluskey is not going away. And we know that his last race, he was able to win. Although McCluskey has just glanced over his left shoulder as if to say, can I hang on for second? So I think it is Birtwistle making every post a winner. He's now starting to surge as he goes down towards the finishing line. And here he is, Jacob Birtwistle, the boy from Launceston, just 100 kilometres along the road, has taken out this race here in Devonport, race number 2 in the Oceania Sprint Series. He timed it absolutely to perfection, and Callum McCluskey was absolutely valiant there trying to hang on, but Birtwistle's kick just got through as he was able to come across the line, and you can see right there and then he has used every bit of petrol tickets that he can use to get that victory. So I know that Craig is over there, he'll hang on, and there is all of our other competitors coming over the line. Excuse me. And there is Craig as well. No, we'll cross to him in just a second and catch a chat with our victor, Jake Birtwistle. Just a fantastic race, and we can see there Carter, New Zealand, Abel, New Zealand, really pushing forward. Bate from Australia has just crossed the line. And you can see there the exhaustion and heat in what started us off at a modest day to just in those early 20s, but you can see here just getting the competitors to put those ice packs down the back. That sunshine here in Devonport can be very, very hot. Doesn't need to be much in that early 20s. And they've given it their all in this sprint series. You can see just a wonderful, wonderful race. What a day we've had here that started in the dark very early in the para event. When it came down towards the elite men and the under 23 men, as again, all the competitors are making their way. You can see the Austrians from also from Taipei there. That was Zhuai Pan from Taipei. You can see him just there, which was fantastic. Zanotti there as just getting across the line. Brilliant work. It's fantastic to see the runners just really push so hard towards that finishing line. And as they cross the line here, it's a good feeling when you get to that finishing chicane. As we can see all the scenes down there at the finishing line, coming across now down that finishing chute. A lot of our other New Zealand competitors. There's Parry, Scott, that's Luke Scott. Nice job from him as he gets across the line. Wesley from Australia pushing on. Gussie Mafil from New Zealand. Competitor 42, again pushing hard towards the line. So as soon as they do get across, they go straight for the water, get the ice pack down the back, cool down. The body really, really heats up, especially after that run. They worked hard, and we saw from that hill that they had to get up there 4 times. That really takes it out of your legs. So they've worked very, very hard here today in Devonport. As we can see, again, all the competitors getting over to congratulate each other on a job very, very well done. It's Dixon, Colin from Australia, medical staff on hand, just making sure that the competitors are okay. Get the fluids and a bit of ice on board. They deserve that refueling. As they're crossing the line, you can see there's young Powers from Australia. But gee, that was a very, very good race between Callum McCluskey and the eventual winner, Jake Birtwistle. It basically just came down to the last kilometre, and even there. So we'll cross down now to Craig to have a chat with our winner.
Jake Birtwistle, it's been a long time since you've raced in Devonport, but it's really nice to get on the top of that podium today.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to be back here. To have a home state race is always nice. So, yeah, I was really happy to just get the opportunity again this year. It's been a while since I've been able to compete on this course in Devonport. So, yeah, it was exciting to be here. And then, yeah, it was a tough race out there today, but yeah, really kind of quite pleased with how the race panned out.
You'll take us through the race a little bit, because it looked a little bit lumpy in the swim, and the swim pace was on, and then certainly with young Dylan McCullough and Callum on the bike early on, they certainly set the pace.
Yeah, definitely. Through the swim, it was hard to tell what was going on, because it was just hard to see through all the chop in the water. But yeah, came out in a decent position, kind of just on the back of that group. So yeah, the bike was quite technical actually, or tactical I should say, with a few attacks off the front. It was kind of on and off the whole way, but yeah, we kind of came in with a bit of a gap to Kai, who I thought might have been a bit of a difficult one to catch, but yeah, just kind of held my pace and was able to, yeah, by the end eventually kind of come across the line in first.
Yeah, it felt like you judged the run perfectly. Callum ran really well first out of transition, and then you just sort of worked in out and worked on him, and then sat on him for a while, played a little bit of cat and mouse. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I wasn't too happy to see Callum take off right at the start. He got a bit of a gap on me, and I thought that was probably going to be it. I thought for a while that I was racing for second, but yeah, coming around kind of 3/4 through the first lap, I thought he was still within touch, and I could kind of claw my way back to him, and yeah, caught up to him with about a K and a half to go, and yeah, just kind of sat on for a while and tried to lower the heart rate a bit and just relax for a while before making an attack to the finish.
So well done. That track racing held you in good stead. So obviously you've had a bit of bad luck in the last races with a flat tyre in Abu Dhabi, and then obviously the DQ in New Zealand. So what now for you with your journey towards Paris?
Yeah, so next up is our New Plymouth World Cup next weekend. So yeah, quickly recover from this race and straight back into another sprint race next week, which will be really tough, but another good opportunity to get some more points.
Congratulations today, and good luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Well, there was our winner of the race, Tasmanian Australian representative Jacob Birtwistle, in a very, very good performance, and he's having a pretty handy year. Of course, he raced in Tasmania only last month in the inaugural Ironman 70.3 in Hobart, and was the winner. The very, very different race than this one, because there is no doubt to think about it, is in the sprint series. It's almost like Craig and I were talking, that the 2020 of cricket, if you like, from test matches down to the 2020. This is the one where it's pretty well flat out. You don't leave anything in the tank. So you can see that when they do get to the interview stage, yeah, they have really given it their all. So you can see that everyone wants a piece of the winner, as there's probably quite a lot of media outlets having discussions there with the Australian representative, Jacob Birtwistle. So as he said and alluded to, these are crucial points for qualification. It's going to be a big year for the athletes as they head towards building towards points for qualification for the Olympic Games, which of course come round a little bit quicker in this cycle, given the delay we had via COVID on the last efforts in Tokyo. So it comes round to Paris, LA, and then on to Brisbane. But a fantastic race that we have seen there. To be honest, it's been a wonderful carnival of triathlon that has been put on here in Devonport. As we said before, the whole community get right behind the Devonport Triathlon, which is fantastic. I think it's a really interesting one, the different sizes of the towns and or cities that host the events. And of course, whether it be here or Sydney, we've got Yokohama with other races. You can hear New Plymouth. This is very much a global sport. The last world race was in Abu Dhabi, and it's almost like the circus rolls into town and then they have their race and pack up and prepare for their next race, wherever it is around the world. And now we cross back to Craig Redmond.
Callum McCluskey, second today. You've had a win also in New Zealand earlier in the year, so some really good form. Tell us a bit about today's race.
It was a really good race. I had a really good swim, so I was sort of at the front from the start, and that sort of set up my race really well. And then I had a nice battle with Jake on the run at the end.
Looked like you had a really good swim. You were in a good position. You were strong up the hill with Dylan McCullough. Looks like you may have got away there for a sec. Then the pack sort of mowed you down.
Yeah, well, we had a little bit of a gap, but they mowed us down pretty quickly. The bike was quite tactical, so it didn't take too many bickies out. But yeah, just had a good gap out of transition and tried to hold it, but Jake was a bit too strong.
So how'd you find the North Street Hill? I know you've raced here before. I'm sure you enjoy going up there 4 times.
Yeah, I've done this race so many times. But the hills probably gets easier and easier. I think as you get a bit more experience on this course, you know, the hill's not as hard as it actually seems.
The run, you had a really good transition. You were leading out and you were a bit like you were being hunted down by Jake from behind.
I wanted to get a good gap just to see what everyone else's run legs were like, and Jake unfortunately had the better run legs, but you know, maybe I went out a little bit too hard, but he had a really good kick at the end.
So congratulations for today. It's been a really good year. What's the next steps for you?
Well, I've actually got New Plymouth World Cup next week, which is sort of the first big race of the season, so hopefully I can continue the form from these races.
And then after New Plymouth, obviously everyone's eyeing things like Paris off in the distance. So is that on your radar?
Yeah, definitely. I want to qualify for the Paris test event in August. So I guess next week is the big race, being a World Cup. And I've sort of only done Conti Cups this year. So I really want to make sure I get a good performance next week.
Thanks today and good luck for the rest of the year.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Well, there is Callum McCluskey. Lovely young gentleman, well spoken. You can see here he very focused on what he's meant to do in that race next week. There's no rest for the wicked as they pack up and go to New Plymouth, and you can hear what he says. It's all jockeying for getting better positions for when he gets there and to try and get the points to get to that initial first testing event in Paris, and then of course the real deal in 2024. That is the Olympic Games. So as I think most of the competitors, Craig is probably milling around there to see whoever else he might get. We have got the presentations to come to you very, very shortly. But gee whiz, that was some fantastic racing that we saw here from Devonport. You can see the beautiful vistas that go back to where the surf club is. Just there above in the distance is the bluff area. The beach is nicely protected there, which is the Bass Strait, which we can see out to our right, which is about 240 kilometres of ocean that heads back towards mainland Australia. So it's been a terrific day of racing. Of course, some people come here and they'll be happy and with their form. Others will think, well, I've got to go away and work, but no matter what, it is all good experience. There's no doubt about that. So we've just been told that indeed we aren't streaming the presentation, so we'll be finishing up from this event very, very shortly. I'm not sure if Craig has got any more interviews for us. So we'll just find out if Craig's got any more interviews for us, and if he hasn't, we might wind up. And here he is. Craig's got one more chat with us.
Brandon Copeland, third today, bronze medal. You've had a really good year so far, had a magnificent race back in Abu Dhabi earlier on. But tell us about today's race.
Yeah, that was a tough day out there. The swim was pretty physical. It got pretty beaten up, and so I had to work my way back. And I got super lucky. I jagged an awesome wave. There's something helping me out there, so got back to where I needed to be. And then the bike, I've never seen a group this big out here in Devonport. It was massive. So no one wanted to be at the front until the hill. Then everyone wanted to be at the front. So there's a little bit of navigating that going on. But yeah, managed to stay safe and out of trouble. And yeah, the run. I mean, Cal went out super quick, and I mean, Jake just had the bit between his teeth and he went after him, and couldn't quite go with those two boys, but I managed to close out a decent run and bring myself home in third. So I'm pretty happy with that early season. The form's pretty strong.
Yeah, it looked like you were running at about 4th, 5th, 6th, and then you just found something in that last K to overtake the New Zealand boys. So, so is that something you've been working on in the back end of your runs?
Yeah, I think if you saw Abu Dhabi, I did the complete opposite. So if I can put the first half from Abu Dhabi with the second half here in Devonport, I'll probably have a decent run. So yeah, we got 2 halves. So hopefully next week in New Plymouth we can put together a good whole run.
Okay, so New Plymouth World Cup. Then what's your move after that? What are you looking for past there?
Yeah, so after New Plymouth, hopefully get another good result, get some more solid points, and then I'll head back over with my squad to Girona overseas, do a good block, and then keep ticking off the World Series and try and bump that ranking up and chase those Olympic points.
Well, it's fantastic to see you out front early in Abu Dhabi, so hopefully we'll see a bit more of that, and good luck for the next year.
Thanks, Redders. Thanks for having us in Tassie. It's always a good weekend. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, fantastic to hear there. So just confirming that it was Jacob Birtwistle from Australia who came away with the victory. Callum McCluskey, Australia, and Brandon Copeland, Australia, in third position. So that is the racing here for today from Devonport. It's the Oceania Sprint Championships from Devonport. We hope that you have enjoyed the coverage. For all the highlights, you go to triathlonlive.tv. I think we got one more interview, I think, from Craig. So I'll just cross back to you, Craig.
Dylan McCullough, great race today. You had a fantastic swim and bike, and more importantly, the gold medal in the under-23 race at the Oceania Sprint Championships.
Yeah, I'm absolutely stoked to get the win in the under-23s today and a top 5 in the elite race overall. It's been a while since I last won a race. It was actually 2020 in Devonport here, so 3 years ago, so very happy to be back on the top, yeah.
So you enjoy coming to Devonport, obviously. We know you have that amazing bike leg and swim leg. So what are the sort of things you're doing to work on that run to get you a bit further up the field?
Just consistency in my training and just week in, week out of high Ks pretty much to try and get my running volume up, and that's been my biggest improvement over the last few years to kind of level up with my swim and bike.
So like everyone, Paris is on everyone's mind. What are your plans moving forward to try and get on that start line in Paris?
Yeah, Paris is my goal over the next 2 years. It's kind of, I don't know, it's there or thereabouts, but it's just going to be touch and go whether we get there or not. But it's only one race at the end of the day, and like I'm only 22, so I don't know. I'll give it a go, but if it's not to be, then it's not to be, and it's not the end of the world.
No, certainly, and you've obviously got the individual race, but the teams race as well, and then Commonwealth Games, LA straight after that, so you've got plenty of time on your side.
Yeah, exactly, like many more goals to tick off over the next few years, so we'll see what happens.
So New Plymouth World Cup, is that next week's race?
Yep, next Sunday, so back home tomorrow and a few more days of training and then taper down again and see how that goes, and then a little bit of a break before Oceania Champs in Port Douglas end of May, and then we head over to Europe.
Well, good luck for the rest of the year and good luck in getting on the start line in Paris.
Thank you, thanks heaps.
Well, there we go, the busy life of a triathlete in today's world. As you can hear there, they're going to all points of the compass. So it was great to hear from our under-23 winner, and that was, Dylan McCullough from New Zealand, a terrific young man. So we thank you very much to Craig Redmond for catching up with all of those competitors. Again, now I think we are going to wrap up here from Devonport. We hope that you've enjoyed the coverage. Again, just to reiterate, it's from Triathlon Live.tv from Craig Regman and Andrew Hopwood and Triathlon Australia. We hope that you've enjoyed the coverage, and we say a very goodbye to you here from Devonport.